I recently upgraded my main MIDI keyboard to the Arturia Astrolab 61. I made a video about it and you can watch it if you want, but essentially the Astrolab is Arturia's V collection philosophy brought into a hardware unit. Now, I know the Astrolab is technically a stage piano first, not a MIDI keyboard, but the reason that I got it was because of the promise that I could dive into the V collection from a more hands-on hardware-focused perspective. In theory, this works, but it's one thing to talk about it and a whole other thing to actually do it. So today I want to put this keyboard through its paces through a little challenge to see if it actually helps me work better. So here's the setup. I'm going to make a beat, and the rule is that anything tonal has to come from the Astrolab. So think chords, harmonies, basses, basically anything melodic. It does have some drum kits, and I thought about adding that restriction to the challenge, but if I'm being honest, that's not really how I work. I wouldn't go to the Astrolab or to any board for drums, so I'm not going to force that just for the sake of the challenge. I'm also setting a 1-hour timer, and when it's done, I have to stop, and we'll see how far I got. Before we dive in though, I do want to thank Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. Like many of you, it is my go-to place whenever I'm shopping for gear, and they've always had my back with things like live support, personalized gear advice, and of course, fast and free shipping. We also cannot forget the free candy. I'll leave a link to their site and to the Astrolab, of course, down below in the description in case you're interested. But okay, we have 1 hour set on the timer and go. All right, so the first thing that I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go ahead and open up an analog lab. And once you plug this into your computer, you can then click the link to Astrolab button. And now any changes that I make on the board will happen here as well. Okay, so I think I wanna start off by first going over to my favorites. So home, boom. There it is. And if you take a look here, we have a couple of different keys that help me get to different categories of sounds very quickly. Whenever I'm in my favorites, the certain categories that I favorited will light up. So I have some presets in the bass category, in the organ category, piano category, keys category. That's really cool. Let's take a look at some basses. If I press and hold, I get put into... This is a cool sound. It reminds me of the, don't tell him. The Jeremiah, which was like 2010's DJ Mustard. Maybe we can go down that route. Ooh. Okay, we can't think too much about this because we're on a time crunch, so let's actually do that. Let's do a bum, 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 ba ba bum. Let's do 94. And that should do it. And so from here, no, this needs to be shorter, like right there. And then here again, a little stabby thing, cut that off there, and that's our bass. Okay, I'm gonna move this down over to bass section so it gets properly routed within my template. From here, I'm thinking maybe we do some sort of like pad. I don't think I have any pads favorited here because it's not being lit up. So what I'm gonna do is press the pad button. That leads us into the pad section. But before we do that, let's duplicate the analog lab because that's how we're able to basically interface the board with Studio One. So wait a minute, how does this work? If I link it to one, does it not link it? Does it simultaneously link to both? So do I have to, hold on, let's see. If that's linked, the preset cannot be loaded. What? It was just loaded, dude. What are you talking about? Okay. Okay, let's think of some pads here. So basically I played like it's a D. I kind of like that, but I don't know if that's necessarily the preset that I want to go with. Let's loop this. Let's just record that. Something sounds off. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna repeat this. What I'm gonna do is let's open up the chord track, or not the chord track, the, this thing. God, I get so nervous when I'm under pressure. And we get to see the ghost notes here, right? So I wanna filter this. Let's do filter there. It's very like moody. And then we can shift this up to the top so it gets the proper routing. Bring down the volume. Okay, I feel like there's still more that we can do in terms of like the sounds and like layering, but I want to get the drums down first because I think that'll really give us a little bit more scaffolding. Where are we at with time? 50 minutes? Oh, bro. We got plenty of time. Let's do this. Okay, I'm gonna use Splice for this. I've really been enjoying this integration in Studio One, and so let's do. If you think of this era, like the 2010 DJ Mustard, and especially this bounce, the kicks had to be kind of sporadic. It had a lot of room to breathe, and we had like a clap. So let's pull up a impact, pin this to the top so it doesn't move. Let's look for a clap. That sounds pretty good. Let's load that in there, and then let's look for a kick. That's good enough. So, okay, let's record that. Let's bring in a hi-hat. I'm looking for like a trap hat. That'll work. For this, I'm gonna use my Beatmaker's toolbar. I'll link it down below, but essentially I'm using sample 1. So let's do hats, let's do eighth notes. And then we needed some rolls, right? So like, sound like designer up in there. Let's do 30-second and then edit, split at grid. And then what I want is let's go over to the transform tool, boom, boom. Let's bring this down just like that. And so it's sort of like, is that crescendo, right? It goes up. Pop, pop. So right here. And then what we could actually do is just basically copy this over. I know we have a bass here, but I'm almost inclined to leave that as like a melodic thing, like a plucky bass sort of situation, and actually get a real bass, maybe like an 808. Does this thing have 808s? And so let's look for an 808. If I go over to, again, basses, these might just be like synthy basses, right? Ooh. That's cool. Hard bass, plucked bass, sub bass. This is close, but it's still very, you know, like it's not what I'm looking for. Oh. Nah, that's more like grease bass. I wish there was a way to filter, and maybe there is. Like if I say I want types maybe? Basses? No, we're right back to where we started. Instruments maybe? Okay, so this gives me all of the instruments, but then not necessarily anything that directs me directly to an 808. Playlist, sound banks? No. Maybe under the drum section. Okay, hold on, it's a... This could work. That could work. I spent a lot of time browsing. Where are we at with time? 41 minutes? All right, we still got... Because I want to arrange this whole thing as well. I hate that. No, I don't like this 808 for that. It almost has like a detuned kind of thing happening on the tail end, and I don't like it. And we're back at the top, so does it not have any 808s? And that's the thing, right? Like with this board, you really can't tweak things like that. Not that I would know how to. Wait a minute, bro. Okay, so hold on. I'm looking at it now, and it looks like all of the presets from the Arturia V collection are not on the board. Which, now that I think about it, kind of makes sense because it probably has limited storage, so you can't fit 9,746 presets. The Astrolab currently only has 1,884. Am I allowed to use sounds from No, I said the board, didn't I? Because if you go over to basses, this just seems like it has way more. Way more. Like, look at all this. If you go over to the drums, 808 drum kit. Yeah, so like all of the V collection is not loaded on the board. All right, hold on. We'll have to come back to the 808. I don't want to keep wasting time. Let's get a open hat. That could work. Let's drag it over to here, here, and then I can play it myself. That clap needs a little bit more. Let's do a low cut. Let's do a vintage verb. Bring this down. Let's do now. What if we move this over? Oh, I kind of like that. It's a little better. And then for the drums, let's send this over to a little bit of a room verb. By the way, if you want my Studio One workflow tools that keep me fast and efficient, like my template, which I've been using throughout this entire thing, or my Beatmaker's toolbar, which I use to program some of my drums, like the hi-hat, then I'll make sure to link those for you down below in the description. All right, we're gonna have to come back to the 808, but what else can we add to sort of like the body of this? Like a little lead, maybe? That's the other thing that we have to consider. If I want to basically hear sound, I have to create another instance of the Analog Lab, and then of course link it. So that's a bit of a pain, but I still do like being able to shift through all the stuff here. Ooh! Woohoo! That's kind of cool. It's like an under sort of like layer that we can add. And it's not complicated. Da-na-na-na. Maybe like a ba-na-na-na. That could be a cool little like rundown. Let's start it from here. Okay, I did not play that right. That was terrible. That was really, really bad. What if we do like strings or brass, maybe? All right, how much time we got? 28 minutes and I still have to arrange. Okay, I have to hurry this up. I mean, this is vibey just by itself. Maybe this could be a cool little layer to add underneath to add some weight. What our melodic instruments sound like. A lot of times when I am putting stuff together, you have to be careful not to overcrowd things. You have to let things breathe. It's very easy to overproduce. Okay, that still makes sense. I still like that. I think that little like sub, I think that adds a good little vibe. What if we cut these? So it'll be like a, yeah, all right, something like that. It just adds a little bit of weight, I feel like. Makes it feel a little fuller. Do we need an 808 or more like a respace? Ooh, hold on! What did I do there? I must have missed this when I was like going through the presets at first, because there's a chunky 808 which kind of blends an 808 with like sort of like a more synthy respace. That, oh bro, hold on. Ah, I started wrong. We have 19 minutes. I have to hurry this up. That might have worked. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not really that good at performing under pressure. Like, I'm not. Like, when I sit here, I will zone in, I'll take my time, I will tweak things. I'm a craftsman, bro. Under time, but this is good because it forces you to just to keep going, to, you know what I mean? To basically just make decisions, not overthink it. And that was part of the reason that I wanted to do this challenge. Hey, hold on, wait a minute. That doesn't sound too bad. And this kind of solved the problem where I wanted something on the lower end of the frequency spectrum, and I thought this brass keys would do it, but it didn't sound too good. Maybe it just turns out I needed just a bass. I'm not gonna lie, something still feels off. Something feels like it's not quite right. It might be a note, it might be like the arrangement of a certain notes. I'm not quite sure, but for the sake of keeping this going, because we have 17 minutes left, let's just start arranging this. So we'll call this a chorus, and then I'll do a very, very simple arrangement. We can duplicate this. Boom. Boom. Call this a verse, although it might need like a pre, I don't know. Very, very, very simple arrangement. I'm just trying to get a structure here. Call this like a bridge. I don't even know, bro. And then we end with like another chorus, right? And so let's talk about what we could do here. I think the bass line, the plucky bass has to be there. That could be a cool one to have. So maybe that like lead. Maybe the pad as well. Wait a minute, this just got a fire. I'm gonna go to my sounds. I need like a crash. I wish there was a way to like, you know how on the Mac you can add little like color tabs? Yeah, so like easily identify. Gotta lower that down because it's gonna be mad loud. There's still so much to do, my God. I'm still not in love. I'm not in love with some of the things here. This needs tweaking, but hey, this is real life, all right? Can I open this up? Let's go to the plug bass here. See, that matches a little better. Maybe the problem was the melody that I played. I don't know. That kind of sounds better to me. Yeah, that to me sounds so much better. So then, and now we have to make sure, of course, that it matches up with the pad. Yeah, so we're changing the chord here. My ears are happy. I knew there was something going on. There was something wrong. There was just like a lot of... And the crazy part is that this is mad simple, but sometimes simple just works. Sometimes you don't have to complicate a lot of things, you know? And so now our melodic section... How much time you got? 8 minutes! Oh my God! Okay. I think this is it. I think once we fixed some of those notes... Woo! My God, there's so much that I could do here in terms of like the mixing and tweaking the sounds, but we have to keep this moving, okay? So we got intro. Because I have 8 minutes left, 7 minutes left, oh my God. Okay, so let's actually bring this over. Let's reverse this, right? And I just want this as like a riser. But then on this, let's add a trans gate. This is one of my favorite, or is it just called gate? Trans gate. This one's it. Oh, please don't crash. Please don't do that. Okay, thank you. This is a cool little plugin to add a little bit of like modulation to your sounds. And I like to use it especially in the beginning. And so we can click the bypass button, and then I'm gonna take the automation, drag it into there. And then it's basically going to be bypassed until we get to about like maybe there. And No, 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 no. A little closer. So. Woo! Only need another little crash right there, I feel like. I'd like to have another little smaller crash just... Yeah, we could take out the lead. I feel like the lead could be like our hook chorus kind of thing, right? And so we go into the verse. I want these again over here. And then again here. And then here, what we could do is probably cut this out and then do like a bum, 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 bum. Oh God, oh God. We have like 4 minutes left. Let's duplicate this. Call this bass 2. Link it to Astrolab. Here, I'm looking for like a synthy bass, like a bum, bum, bum. Maybe we could even take out the kick. Something along those lines. That might be it, because we have 3 minutes left. I'll have to go with that. I'll have to go with that. Dum da dum. Okay. And then, which time we got? 2 minutes, 2 minutes. Okay, I basically want this like this. And then for the kick, we can mute that. And so it'll be like a... Let's add a little crash. But then we could probably keep this going. Once we bring the kick back in. Minute 30. Okay, here. Let's mute that. Let's mute this. Woo! Let's copy this over so everything moves over here. And then for this sort of like bridge, I call it a bridge, breakdown, whatever. And then from here, I'm thinking we can keep these, right? We can keep the pad and we can keep the plug bass. Maybe even this. Maybe even like the main lead. How much time we got? 23 seconds? I kind of like that. Okay, save. Okay, time's up. Ah! All right, y'all. So we did it. We have an entire semi-arranged, semi-mixed beat. And this is what I have. Check it out. Okay, so the timer's up, but as I'm listening through it again, I would 100% mute the pluck bass during the new bass introduction so they don't clash. Okay, so overall, I think I'm pretty happy with this beat. Under the constraints that I gave myself, I think I did pretty well. I think. I don't know. You let me know. But now let's quickly talk about what I liked and what I didn't like with the Astrolab 61. Now, I will preface this by saying again that I understand this is not really a MIDI keyboard. It's a performance board with MIDI capabilities. However, the very first thing that I did like about this was the ability to browse through sounds with physical buttons, a tactile feedback. In a world full of screens, this to me was really, really nice. Now, piggybacking off of that, I think at first my brain was kind of annoyed in the beginning because I wanted to see a list of presets, like a long list like you normally would with a software instrument. And so going through things sound by sound was kind of starting to annoy me. But on that same thought, I kind of do appreciate the fact that it's maybe just like one preset at a time because you're not overwhelmed with all the options. You kind of have one, and then you can go on from there. I don't know if I'm gonna like that later on, but I think for the sake of this challenge, it helped me just pick something and go. The one thing I will say, and again, I don't know if Arturia is going to implement this because their focus is not MIDI or producers, it's performers, but because this is very much a one preset at a time and it's very linear, it'd be cool to have a randomized feature, because what about the presets at the end of the list? If I'm going one by one and I'm just quickly moving, I might not get to those presets later. So maybe it's something that they can implement later on, like a shift plus feature, where it'll randomly send me to a new preset and I can kind of test that out. That would be cool. The other thing that was kind of a little bit of a bummer is that, as you saw, it doesn't really have all of the presets from the V collection. It has some. Now, this kind of makes sense because, yeah, the board is a physical unit with physical storage or limited storage, and so you can't really fit like 10,000 presets, but that was a little bit of a bummer because specifically when I was trying to add like some of the 808 bass kind of things, trap kind of things, there were presets in the Analog Lab version, the full suite, that were there, but not here. And now I realized later on, I figured out you can actually drag presets from Analog Lab to the board and save them here, but that was just another little nitpick. Overall, I don't know. I think it's too early for me to say definitively if I am gonna continue with this board or not, but today I enjoyed it, and so maybe I'll give you guys a 6-month update later on down the road. But there you go, friends. Hopefully you enjoyed the video and the beat. Let me know what you think of the Astrolab 61. Is this something that maybe you think you can get for your studio? Is it not really your vibe? Let me know down below. Either way, thank you for hanging out with me, and I'll see you on the next one.